Alright, we're back. Right, let's jump straight in to the next case. So, Joan Canto is a network marketer from Las Vegas. She met John Doe, also in sales, at a business conference, and they dated for 6 months. 3 days ago, his body was found discovered in his hotel room while on a business trip out of state. In addition to multiple testimonies pointing the finger at Joan, her alibi does not hold up, and she fits the suspect's profile. Tip: some people can lie with their facial expressions and words. Pay attention to changes in rapport and pressure. So you can kind of use the pressure and rapport system as a kind of lie detector test. So you can ask basic questions, things that they don't really care about, to get a baseline of how they respond to a question. If you can hear a baby in the background, that's my son. He's 7 months old. His mum's looking after him while I do this. So John Doe was a charismatic salesman who was dearly loved by his family. Everyone says the relationship between John Doe and Joan Canto was extremely unhealthy, and he wanted it to end. John Doe had moved on to another relationship. Let's just nab this question while we're here. People say it was an unhealthy relationship. Everybody is pointing the finger at Joan. Despite the relationship being over, Joan would show up at John's house uninvited, and he would let her in. Okay, you've been seeing each other. A voicemail on John's phone from Joan after the crime took place. "Hey Johnny, sorry I couldn't make it last night. I've been really busy. Good luck with your conference. Anyway, I hope you're okay. Bye." Okay, seems a little sus. Let's nab that. What about your voicemail? So probably as the viewer, you don't really know what to make of that voicemail just now, so just ignore it. We have our details. We have a mountain of evidence that sort of says that she's a bit crazy. Everyone says that she's crazy, and she was not happy with the relationship ending, and she might have been the one to kill Mr. John Doe. So let's jump in. So we have the questions that we got from the evidence here, but let's start nice and simple. Let's start easy. The read technique. Do you know why you're here? For John. Oh, poor Johnny. He was such a good man. Okay, where were you that day? Get ready. Oh, it's a funny story actually. I was on my way to do some errands and my car broke down. Luckily, this nice Mexican guy named Jorge showed up and offered me a ride. I know I shouldn't get into strangers' cars, but I just felt like I could trust this guy, I try not to judge people for, Anyway, he drove me, and he was such a sweet man. He told me about his wife and kids, and she goes on for several minutes about her ride with Jorge. If you look at lots of interrogations online, you might recognize this one already. Okay, when was the last time you saw him? Oh, not since we broke up a few weeks ago. What's your relationship like with John Doe? We had a magical, beautiful relationship, but I suppose, despite how much we love each other, it wasn't to be. Okay, interesting. So we can either get some evidence here, we can confront her on some of these things. For example, when was the last time you saw him? Not since we broke up. Well, we know that they've been seeing each other because of testimonies and things like that. We can get her phone records and get a lot of information from that, and we could also get her DNA to see if maybe she just links up with the DNA on the crime. Or we can start small talking her a bit to learn a bit more about her. Generally, the way I like to do it is since while we've got neutral, we're on the white line, we can just start with a big question like, okay, when was the last time you saw him? Not since we broke up. Actually, we know you've been seeing each other on the sly. Oh yeah, well, the relationship never really ended. We would still see each other sometimes, but not that day. Okay. Listen, we're going to be friends here, Joan. Tell me about yourself. What's to say? I work in sales. I try to stay true to God, I take my religion very seriously. You see, she got quite a big, quite a reaction from asking her about her. You like talking about yourself? No. Press X to doubt. No, I don't care about myself. I'm just worried about poor Johnny's family. Okay, enough about that. What do you do for a living? I'm in network marketing. That's how I met Johnny. You know, it's kind of difficult in a small town like this. I've been struggling, but, you know, I always say, look on the bright side. Johnny used to say the same thing. So, while it's a small town, I like to think of it as like an untapped market. Okay, struggling with money, always a potential motive for a crime? Yeah, lately, but, you know, I really believe in God, and I believe He has a path for all of us. Okay? Let's ask her about that. Do you believe in God? Of course! I always say, let's pray. Pray before eating, pray before bed, pray before, you know. But Johnny was always resistant to that. I would say, you say a prayer, and he would say, no, you say a prayer. And we would have this little back and forth like that. I had fun writing this one. So religion is very important to you. Pay attention to the, you can't see where I'm pointing, but pay attention to the rapport and pressure here. So is religion important to you? Okay, so yes, very much so. Remember, people can lie with their facial expressions and their words, but you can use this pressure bar as a kind of polygraph test in the game. So, no, she's not interested in God. She's interested in. Well, you know what? Let's have a bit of fun. Let's jump out of this interrogation entirely, and let's go meet this guy. This guy's a bit different from the other ones. The alligator. Alexander Gates, otherwise known as the Alligator, is an interrogator turned criminal mastermind. He is currently serving 10 consecutive life sentences and has evaded the death penalty by agreeing to help interrogators when they are stuck. Pay him a visit. Learn why they call him the Alligator. Visit him often to gain more insight on each of your cases. Okay, you see, so this guy, I won't say what the reference is, but you'll probably pick it up from just a little bit of looking at it. The newspapers and internet are full of stories about the famous serial killer known as the Alligator. During his career as an interrogator, he solved many cases with his unique ability to peer into someone's soul through their eyes. All of his victims were found with missing eyes and not a trace of forensic evidence. He was never caught. Rather, he confessed of his own free will. Okay, that's the evidence we have. This is not a crime per se. This is us talking to a criminal mastermind to try and get more insight on our cases. Maybe he can help us out with this Joan Canto here and confirm a couple theories I have. So the infamous Alexander Gates, he might be able to help you improve as an interrogator. Do not, under any circumstances, get too close to him. Age 66, occupation, prisoner. So interrogate. There he is. May I ask you some questions? You're the new interrogator, are you? May I see your credentials? Certainly. Closer, please. Move closer. Closer. Move within arm's reach. No. I've read his case file. I know that that's dangerous. That's close enough. That is rather slippery of you. Sit, please. Okay, do you know why you're here? Yes, do you? Will you help me? Oh no, you were doing so well. You came in courteously. You knew just the right time to stop. And now you just jump in with the big questions. Romance me a little. Start with some foreplay. Don't just jam it in there. Okay. So we can ask I mean, we don't have to, but we can say, can we have access to your phone? It's a stupid question. You mean the prison phone? Can we have a DNA swab? I believe you already have it. Okay, tell me about yourself. Do you know why they call me the Alligator? Because you're a patient hunter? Because you're a murderer? Because you're an interrogator? Because your last name is Gates? Because you're from Florida? Because you grin a lot? Because you're an interrogator. Yes, to every question you were just thinking of. I despised the name at first. It has no bearing on my true motives. But I must admit it has grown on me. It's quite clever, actually. Okay, enough about that. What do you do for a living? Ha ha ha, living? Is that what you call this? Read my case file. We already have. What do you do for fun? You have them too, don't you? Have what? The eyes. The eyes of a gator. You don't need a polygraph. You are able to see exactly how much pressure and rapport your suspect is feeling. It seems that even I won't be able to lie to you, interrogator. How is your love life? Why? Who's asking? I am. You stay in touch with your family? I keep them close to my heart. You know, if you have the eyes of an interrogator, you can see a person's soul. If you can look them in the eyes as you take their life, they confess everything. Do you drink or do drugs? I have but one vice, and I think you already know what it is. Do you believe in God? Do you believe in God? Enough about that. Enough about that. Okay. Please relax. You know what I did to the last interrogator who told me to relax? I turned their eyes into salsa and ate them with tortillas. Were you treated okay? I already told you. The whole good cop, bad cop routine won't work on me. Can we get you anything? How about you release me? Yeah, this is a very serious crime. Oh, interrogator, you think you can dissect me with this blunt little tool? We know you're involved somehow. Go on, slam the desk. It feels good. Whee! What fun! Okay, it's time to confess. No, it's not. You'll have to raise my pressure to maximum for this gator to snap. Okay, will you help me now? Now, see, now we've romanced him a little. We've talked to him a bit. We've got a little bit of rapport, just eking out those little bits of rapport from this guy. We've tried everything, and he's just still staring at us. Will you help me? You know what you look like to me? A noob. A scrub noob. You've beaten a few games, got your shiny little achievements, but you saved scum, didn't you? You used guides and wasted all your time, so you could say, I did it. I beat the game. I'm the smart one. All the while your peers went on to live real lives. All the while your life creeps away from you, second by second. You want to speak, but you are frozen. Forgive me. I get bored in here all alone. Ask me again one more time. The alligator's stare pierces through your soul, pinning it in place. Will you help me? Bring me case files. Allow me to read them, and I will help you. Each time you get a new case, come and talk to me about it. Get a perfect score, and I'll tell you what I really think. Okay, so you see, now we can talk to him about the cases that we have. So we can say, hey, I graduated. I did the tutorial with a perfect score. You expect me to be impressed by that? Okay, I solved the stalker case. Boring. So, who was it? The stalker, the friend zone, or the ex-boyfriend? The friend zone. Ah, yes. The stalker lied because he had reason to lie. He's pathetic, but he did not kill her. The ex lied, but only lies that he himself believes. In fact, he's far too honest for his own good. But Christian, he lied about being in love with the girl, and that's believable. However, why would he lie about seeing her just before she died? He just forgot that he saw her that day, that she went missing? Sounds about right. I'd say we get a bit of rapport for giving him that case. Like I said, this case is boring, but it's good training for an interrogator. Most of the time, the motive is simple and stupid. There may be no conclusive evidence, and the culprit may never admit to their crime. Your job as an interrogator is to get as much information as you can. You're not the judge or the jury. Catch them in lies, appeal to the correct emotion, manage rapport and pressure just right, and you might learn something that will be useful in the prosecution. Okay. So we can now talk about Joan Canto. Oh, what could this poor, sweet, innocent woman have done? Well, she's the only suspect. This one is easy. In order to get a full confession from her, you should disregard everything she tells you. If she tells you the sky is blue, assume it is black. Do not appeal to the person she projects herself to be, but appeal to the real Joan, the one she says she doesn't care about. Okay? So let's use that advice. So we'll go back to our cases, and we'll open up Ratha Joan again. Just jump straight to this page and interrogate her. And let's take that advice, appeal. So she says she's a godly girl, really believes in God, really wants to do the right thing, but we know what she really thinks is, what she cares about is herself and what people think of her. So we could say this, that would get a bad result. Again, if you want to avoid spoilers, don't watch this. So we'd say, what would people think? Oh, I don't really care what people think of me. I'm just worried about poor Johnny. Okay. So you see, we got a good result out of that. We got her nice and set up because we can see through her. We can see through her bullshit. Okay. Now, let's do this. Let's get access to her phone. Of course, you won't find anything there. And a DNA swab. Sure. Okay, she seems confident. Let's see. While there was clearly an attempt to clean, Joan's DNA is all over the crime scene and John himself. So, pretty conclusive. Your DNA is everywhere. And we can also look at the phone. There are deleted pictures on Joan's phone at the date, time, and location of John's death. So, despite her being so confident, everything points at her. Everyone around her is saying it's her. She has pictures on her bloody phone. She has her DNA is everywhere. She has motive. It's pretty open shut. But can we get her to admit it? Can we get her to say something so that we can save the taxpayer a ton of money in court fees, so we can go a bit quicker because we have this interrogation? Let's see. Let's not scare her off. It's like a horse. You've got to come at it from an angle. So let's do this. Where were you that day? Oh, it's a funny story actually. Blah 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 blah. Either one of these will knock down this statement, so we can say the pictures on your phone. But are you sure? Can I see them? No. Please relax. Okay. She seems to be able to disassociate quite easily. So where were you that day? I was with Johnny that night, but nothing happened. I swear I would never hurt him. Your DNA is everywhere. So you see, like I said, we're kind of, we only really needed one of these. Well, that could have been from before. I mean, if I did it, I would have worn gloves or something. Listen, Joan, we're friends. You know, what do you do for fun? Let's cool down a bit. Oh, I like to listen to music, singing. I like to pray. I help out a lot at the local church, you know, feeding the homeless and stuff. I think, you know, since God has blessed me with so much, it feels good to give a little back. Okay. How's your love life? Oh, I haven't been with anyone, not since Johnny. I mean, everyone's different, but, you know, I think it's wrong to go straight from one relationship to the next. I've only been intimate with a few guys because, you know, my faith doesn't really allow it. But, you know, I try to follow the 10 Commandments, and there's no commandment saying, thou shalt not fornicate. Hee. Okay, let's keep going with this. You stay in touch with your family? We live in different states, but we speak to each other from time to time on the phone. For the last few months, really Johnny's family has been my family. Oh, I feel so bad for them. They loved him so much. They must be devastated. I mean, I've been dealing with this from a tiny prison cell, but, you know, I don't really care about myself. I'm worried about his family. Okay, do you drink or do drugs? Never. As it says in the Bible, our bodies are God's temple. So I would never do that. I mean, I feel terrible about this one time back in college. A few friends were having some drinks and they kept saying, come on, Joan, have a drink with us. And I would always say, you know, my body is God's temple. But one time it was New Year's and I said, you know what? What the heck? Let's have a drink. So I took a sip of some beer and I didn't really feel anything. But, you know, I regretted it so much the day after. You see how this girl likes to talk? Enough about that. Where were we? You see how, if you look at the real interrogation this is based off of, you can see how much patience the interrogator had. I think we've got. I'm just going to close the window. Right. Okay, where do we go from here? So we can ask her about these things, and now that we've unlocked a few things, we can sort of say, look, it's time, everyone's pointing the finger at you. It's not time to ask her about the voicemail yet. What we can do is say, what's your relation with John? We had a magical, beautiful relationship, but I suppose despite how much we love each other, it wasn't to be. Okay, but people aren't saying that. People are telling me a different story. Yeah, well, people talk, but, you know, we were working it out. You know, all my other ex-boyfriends are still alive. Okay. Yeah, but, you know, everyone's pointing the finger at you, Joan. No, I wouldn't even hurt a spider. I mean, I kicked a dog once, and I felt terrible about it. He was fine after, but it made me cry every time I thought about it. I confessed to God, and that made me feel a little better, but I still felt bad for that poor dog. It had made a mess everywhere and was barking all day, so I just gave it a little tap with my shoe, out of frustration, and it ran away all frightened. I felt terrible about it for weeks. So here we're being quizzed again. Are we paying attention? Do we appeal to her religion here, or do we appeal to her reputation, her ego? It will look much better if you confess. Okay, let's say I told you everything. What would happen to me next? So here the choice is, the idea is, are we too low on rapport so that we need to kind of bring her back so that she doesn't just leave? Or do we want to raise pressure a bit more? I'm gonna go for the rapport option because we've already got enough pressure. I can see you're a good person. Kind of buying into her lie a bit. Well, I tried to do right by God. Okay, I'll tell you everything. Okay, tell me everything. Okay. Can I see the pictures on his phone? I can't do that, Joan. Okay. So, the reason I haven't told you the truth is because I've been in fear for my life. Okay, tell me more. So you can see her pressures going up, her rapport's going down, she's lying. So, I was with Johnny in his hotel. I'm not proud of it, but we were being intimate. I know it says in the Bible not to be intimate with someone before marriage, but I thought, if I always say a prayer first, and, Johnny and I were really close, and I think, I think God would think that if you really love someone, so I can either let her continue, or I can say, enough, what happened? I'm going to let her continue. So, he was getting out of the shower, and a couple strange men came in. Johnny said, "Stay back, I'll handle this." So I stayed there. And, I was in fear for my life, because one of them tried to attack me with a knife. So she's bullshitting at this point. So we can let her continue, or we can just say, look, enough is enough. I'm going to say enough is enough. Look, Joan, enough. Where were you that day? Oh, she doesn't want to talk to me anymore. Okay, well, you know what? What we can do, I'll just do this to show you, because I think some people weren't clear about this. So let's just say, look, chill out. Can we get you anything? Oh, nothing for me, thanks. I'm just worried about poor Johnny. Okay, where were you that day? Johnny was killed by some strange men and I ran away. I didn't say anything because they threatened me and I was in shock. Really? So why on earth would you send a voicemail, right? Why on earth would you send a voicemail if that's the case? So what about your voicemail? Oh, yeah, I can't explain that. So we've done it. Why are you doing this to me? It's time to confess. So is she just a sweet innocent girl, or did she have a toxic relationship with this guy? Why? What reason could I have to hurt poor sweet Johnny? They had a toxic relationship. No, he was my sweet Johnny. He wouldn't leave her alone? She didn't want the relationship to end, or she needed his money? She didn't want the relationship to end. He moved on so fast. You're guilty. You are my love, you are my light. Now I breathe you in and hold you forever. Holding you forever and ever, my sweet Johnny. Apologise for my voice acting. So there we go, we get a nice satisfying plump. And there we have it. So now we can go to the alligator, talk to him, and say, Joan Canto never confessed. She didn't, she just started singing like a crazy person. Of course not. It would be completely out of character for someone like her to confess. But did you catch her on her lies? Did you appeal to the real Joan Canto? According to the score, I did. Then you did as well as it is possible for you to have done. You saw her soul, if only a glimpse. You saw that while she spoke a lot about God, she would barely react when you appealed to her religion. Clearly, all she really cared about was her ego and her reputation. Okay. So now we have more cases, but I'm not going to ask about them until we've had a look. So let's go straight for it. Personally, I don't need the alligator's help. I am the alligator. So Let's jump into this one. Again, you might recognize this one if you watch a lot of interrogations online.